Okay, Sheikh. I believe we are live now. طيب الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Sheikh Ahmed, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ramadan Mubarak on you, your family, to all the jama'ah there. And I never know how to pronounce the masjid.
Gangalan masjid.
It's like, you know, you've got to twist your tongue upside down and left and right to make sure you get the right makharij and the
Yes.
the
Take
huruf.
a quick course to.
But inshallah, the jama'ah over there, although they might not be getting together physically in the masjid, mashallah, Allah yazikum khair, you've used the technology that's available to contact the people through the social media and get them together, mashallah, on a regular basis. Hopefully they're not praying behind you as imam, you in your home and them in their home.
Alhamdulillah, they didn't. Alhamdulillah, I'm assuming.
Mashallah, jazakumullah khair.
Welcome, Sheikh Ahmed Abdo. We are thankful for you to accept our invitation, humble invitation to be with us. Jazakallah khair.
Wa yakum. It's always a pleasure and honor. I remember visiting your masjid maybe now a month or two ago.
Yeah.
After Maghrib and Isha. And it was a beautiful opportunity. MashaAllah, you're putting together a great project and extra facilities for the community. So I look forward, inshallah, to the next visit for there to be further development in that stage.
Inshallah. We'd love to have you again, inshallah, our masjid. طيب Sheikh, as you have mentioned, Ramadan Mubarak, and our topic today is the how to attain Baraka in our time during Ramadan. But before starting this very important topic, Sheikh, a quick explanation about the word Baraka. A lot of people do use it. May Allah give you Baraka. Even people, the Arab people, they speak Arabic, and they didn't have full understanding of this word, the word Baraka. Can you just give us some explanation about the word Baraka?
Baraka has several meanings, and one of the deepest and most essential of the meanings is that whatever Allah has given you, that Allah magnifies it. So there's Baraka in different provisions that we've got. The rizq that we have of our food, of our clothing, of our transport, of our shelter, of our waqt, of our time, of our deen, of our akhlaq. There's Baraka in all of these things in knowledge. And the Prophet ﷺ talks about a very simple example of barakah, that we're prohibited or discouraged from eating from the center of the plate of the sahan, because that's where the barakah descends. So it's as though that there's this spiritual unseen element from the heavens that is amalgamating and mixing with the ta'am, right, with the food that is presented before us, such that if we interact with the food according to the adab nabawiyah, according to the prophetic mannerisms, then we're going to attain something called barakah in our food. So the barakah in the food also comes back to the Prophet ﷺ saying that a disbeliever eats through 7 intestines and a believer eats through 1. And it was noted that one of the people that ended up embracing Islam in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, before Islam, he used to eat a lot. But after Islam, it became extremely minimal because of that barakah and blessing in the food. There can be people that sit down and eat and eat and eat and still aren't satiated. They're still hungry. But subhanAllah, one person of barakah has a few luqaymat, as the Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith regarding like how much we eat. And this is interesting because it's very common knowledge, isn't it, Sheikh Hamza, that you must eat leave 1/3 for your food and 1/3 for your drink and 1/3 for your air. But in fact, that's
hard to control.
That's the second stage, right? The Prophet ﷺ says, "Hasbu ibn Adam luqaymat, yuqimna sulbu." So it's just enough for the son of Adam, right, the child of Adam, to have a few small morsels of food, like a few small spoonfuls to do what? To keep your back up straight so you don't fall down. It's to give you enough energy. And there's a lot of people in nutrition and dietitians and this alternative style of living that are really talking about having smaller portions of food more frequently throughout the day. Obviously not during Ramadan for us, but outside of that, thinking about it. And the Prophet ﷺ says, we're a people that don't eat until we become hungry. And when we eat, we don't eat to our fill. And so, in fact, he refused a gift of a doctor from Al-Muqawqis, the leader of Egypt in the time, and he accepted some servants, some maids that had been sent with him and some other gifts. So the Prophet ﷺ had this deep understanding of barakah, and number one, it's a divine gift that Allah places in different elements of our lives, such that when we interact with it, the little bit that we have seems to be extended. It's like an elastic band that just gets longer and longer and longer. So we can have barakah in our knowledge, right? A person may have studied, for instance, very minimal time with true ulama, rabbaniyin, true Islamic scholars, but they had barakah in their knowledge. So that little knowledge that they had, they maybe studied 1, 2, 3, just general foundational books. But subhanAllah, Allah puts barakah in their ilm. Wherever they go, people want to listen to them. Wherever they go, people want to invite them. People want to be in their company. And everyone seems to benefit from them. But someone who may have studied 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, but maybe some kibr, maybe some arrogance. Not saying that that's the case with most people. But for instance, for example, when the lack of barakah comes through those diseases of the heart, a person thinks, I've studied for 10, 20, 30 years with the greatest scholars of the time, and so I'm better than everyone. People come and ask me for fatwa. I'm Shaykh al-Shuyukh, I'm Muftiyin and all this. There's no barakah in that person's knowledge. And so what happens? The ilm evaporates.
Yeah. Sheikh, now the main topic for our discussion today, and wallah, is so excited what you have mentioned today, and the explanation of the word barakah. This meaning is very hard to minimize the translation in English to the word barakah, the word blessing. It's very hard. I think the word barakah is very wide to minimize it, to limit it to one word in English. طيب Sheikh, how to attain this barakah during Ramadan? You know, Ramadan is very important. The time of Ramadan is only 1 month. Yani, it's a really important time. We need to use it. People are saying, yani, we're working during the day, and we only have a few hours to relax, to sleep. And this small time left, they want to spend it with reading the Quran, Taraweeh, and other things which please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how they can get the most of this time.
Well, it reminds me of a situation of one of our shuyukh, not our direct shuyukh, but one of the shuyukh of our shuyukh in Hadramaut, in the city called Masila, just outside of Tarim. His name was Habib Abdullah bin Hussein bin Tahir. Lived about 200 years ago. Great outward scholar, great knowledgeable scholar of the deen and of the ulum al-zahira and al-batina. There was once a wealthy person that had just received a delivery of the good old wind-up watch that you sit there and you wind up. They were in the days when you didn't have these Casio watches and all these other Swatch watches. You have to sit there winding up your watch every single day in order for it to work. Obviously, we don't know that nowadays, but that's how it was before. You need to wind up your watch. So this person had come and given the gift to the sheikh. Here's a watch. What's this? The sheikh says, "What's this for?" And the student, the brother says, هذا يا شيخ ليحفظ وقتك. He says, this is to preserve and to guard your time, O sheikh. So the sheikh takes it, Jazakallah khair, mashallah. You know, the shuyukh, whatever gift that they give, they don't looking for gifts, but jabar khatir, yani just to make this person so they don't get upset. Jazakallah khair, thank you very much. Yes, mashallah. They feel good, alhamdulillah, and they go away. And a few days later, the same guy that gave the gift to the sheikh, the watch, he says, كيف الساعة? How's the watch going? The sheikh says, وقفت, it stopped working. So the guy says to him, Ya sheikh, did you wind it up? He says, what do you mean wind it up? He says, yeah, sheikh, you've got to, every morning you got to sit there and wind the watch up. Otherwise it's not going to work. He says, Ya waladi, He says, أنت أعطيتني هذه الساعة لتحفظ وقتي ولا تضيع وقتي.
SubhanAllah.
He says, did you give me this watch to preserve my time, protect my time, or to waste my time? He says, I don't have time to sit there winding up watches every single day. وقتي مملوء. And this is the way that the Salihun were. Their time was full. Imam al-Nawawi, radiyallahu ta'ala an, and of course Imam al-Nawawi needs no introduction. Sahib Riyadh al-Salihin and Sharh Imam Muslim, and mashallah, so many great works in all various sciences of the deen. It was he had نعم
40 نووية.
40 طبعا, the famous book. He had 12 classes a day, and those classes were classes that he used to study in, let alone the ones he used to go out and teach. 12 classes a day. Now imagine that. Now that's pretty full on, and that's not including the time that he's set aside for ibadah, the time that he's set aside for ta'lif and for writing, for dhikr, for da'wah ilallah, for research. So these people definitely had some type of barak in their time, but it didn't come haphazardly, chaotically. But it came with a great azima, with a great sincerity, great motivation, and a great desire. And that's what we need in Ramadan. Things aren't going to change unless we make the change. So if we're going to justify our situation and say we're working 8-hour days, for instance, and we come back and we've only got a couple of hours of the night in between iftar and wudu and sitting with the family, what am I going to do? Well, you're doomed from the beginning. You're going to do nothing because you've already set the scene whereby you have justified for your nafs, which is either amara bis-su' or nafs lawama. Inshallah, it's not the amara bis-su', but it's the lawama, perhaps the off-blaming. But we want to get the nafs to nafs mutma'inna, ya ayyatuha nafs al-mutma'inna. Allah says, oh nafs that is tranquil. And that's the one that is radiya, and it is mardiya. Allah loves it, Allah is pleased with it, and it is also pleased with Allah. But how do we do it? The ulama say, al-waqtu kas-sayf in lam taqta'hu qata'ak. Is they say that time is like a sword. If you don't cut it, it is going to cut you. So you need to be extremely intentional in the way that you organize your time. And as mu'mineen, Allah has already given us the basis for which to organize our time. And it's based on the salawat. I lived in Yemen for 10 years, and whenever you want to make an appointment with someone, it says, بعد الظهر, قبل العصر, بعد المغرب. There's no such thing as 2:30. No such thing as 5:30. It's before this prayer or after that prayer. So the mu'min, the young Muslim, grows up and they're programmed that the fixed part of their day is the ibadah, those 5 prayers. Everything else is secondary. So for us, no doubt in Ramadan, the primary ibadah is siyam, but also coupled with that is our salah. And so therefore, wherever we are in our day, in our work, in our study, our salah is going to be number one priority. So before we look to doing lots of things during our day and our night in Ramadan, let's look to doing whatever it is that we are doing it with ihsan. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the muhsineen. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam says in the response to Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, when he said, what is ihsan? What is spiritual excellence? He says, al-ihsan an ta'bud Allah كأنك ترى. It's to worship Allah as though you witness Him. فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. And even though you do not see Him, surely know without doubt that He sees you. So the first step to attaining barakah in Ramadan is to perfect whatever it is that we are currently doing. So our salah, well, we're doing it 5 times a day. It's no use us adding and adding and adding to the salah if the original salah that we're performing is not up to standard. So that means I need to start to look to how I can perfect my salah such that when I stand facing my chest towards the qibla, making sure that I'm facing the direction of Mecca, making sure that my clothing is covering the awrah, making sure that there is no najasa on my thawb, on my badan, on my mahal of salah, the place of prayer, my clothing, or on my body. If I'm ensuring that all this is in check, then that's the zahir of the salah. I now need to start to look to the batin of the salah, right? The inner reality of the salah. And that is when I stand facing the direction of Mecca, ayn al-qalb? Where's my heart facing? Is it worried about my work? Is it worried about my assignment? Is it worried about my debts? Is it worried about my problems? Is it worried about my house? Or is it worried about Allah? And is it worried about the day in which we meet Allah? Man ahabba liqa Allah, ahabba Allahu liqa'ah. A person who loves and longs, desires to meet Allah, Allah will love, long, and desire to meet them. When I stand there making sure that I've covered all of my private parts of the awrah with my thawb and my garment for salah, have I also covered those faults, those mistakes through tawbah and asking Allah for forgiveness? When I sit there making sure that there's no najasa on my clothing, do I also make sure that there's no najasa in my spiritual heart, that I haven't got any envy or jealousy towards another believer, that I don't hate someone from the bottom of my heart, that I'm not deeply attached to the life of this world? When I say Allahu Akbar, is it just the raising of the hands and the saying of Allahu Akbar on my tongue? Or for me to attain the barakah in my salah, am I also saying Allahu Akbar min kulli shay? Allah is greater than everything in my life. And I continue in that way. I do that, and then I say the dua, وَجَّهْتُ وَجْهِي لِلَّذِي فَطَرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ حَنِيفًا مُسْلِمًا وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. I turn my entire being to the one who originated the heavens and the earth. And I'm doing this as a Muslim on the natural way. And I am not one of those people who associate partners with Allah, to the end of that dua. So bringing consciousness, awareness to every single step that I'm already taking during my day and my night, Wallahu alam, I feel, is the first step for us to attain barakah in the month of Ramadan. Perfect the fara'id, the obligatory actions that we're doing. When we do them, then we begin to earn the love of Allah. As Allah Ta'ala tells us in the Hadith Qudsi, that the servant will continue to do the nawafil hatta uhibba, until I love him or her. So if you want to earn the love of Allah, and of course Allah only gives barakah to those whom he loves. Allah's not going to give barakah to the ones that he doesn't love.
Sheikh, subhanAllah, you mentioned a very important point, like reading the seer of Salihin. If you want to learn more about the barakah of the time, whenever you read any book or you ask the mashayikh, first thing they tell you, one of the first steps they tell you, go and read the seer of the Salihin, the life of the Salihin, and then you will know the reality of the meaning of the barakah of the time. طيب Sheikh, to be more practical for the last 6 minutes or 7 minutes or so in our discussion today, subhanAllah, the time is going very quickly. How you can summarize the timetable for a believer during Ramadan?
Ramadan, of course, begins, if we say, from the beginning of the day prior to Salatul Fajr, the time of suhoor. A person should try as much as they can to wake up earlier than the time that they're going to start their pre-dawn meal and perform rukayat. Rukayat, yani couple of rakat, 2 rakat, 4 rakat, 6 rakat, qiyam layl from the sunnah of witr, whatever you want to make that intention, but to make sure that you're up before Fajr.
Short, long, Sheikh? Or
if it's the first time that you've done it, 2 short rak'at with Surah Al-Kafirun and Surah Al-Ikhlas. Make it easy. If this is the first time you've done, we don't want to say get up early morning 1 hour before Fajr and do a khatam juz'ah every single. People say, oh, how are we going to do this? Start off with 2 rak'at, right? What you can do, what is possible, and that 2 rak'at the next day will become 4, and in a week's time will become 6. Like this, the Prophet ﷺ says the most beloved of actions in the sight of Allah are those that are small but are consistent. Now, if Ramadan you've got that energy, mashallah, increase, no problem. As long as you're going to be able to continue to keep it up throughout Ramadan and continue to increase on that. Salatul Fajr, after having our suhoor, and in suhoor, subhanAllah, there's barakah. Prophet ﷺ says the suhoor meal is a barakah meal, even if you take a date or half a date. There's barakah in that for the rest of your day. So you make sure that you don't. Some people say, but I don't need to eat at suhoor time. I'm fine for the whole day. Don't believe that one. Believe the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You want to attain barakah in your day of fasting, and so have even a sip of water, even a date during that time. After Salatul Fajr, to sit down until Salatul Ishraq. A person who sits down after Salatul Fajr until the rising of the sun, and then offers 2 rak'at, the Prophet ﷺ says, will receive the reward of a Hajj and Umrah complete. And
Even
then
if you're at home.
even if you're at home, the hadith mentions a person who prays Salatul Fajr and remains seated until the rising of the sun and offers 2 rak'at after that will receive the reward of a Hajj and Umrah complete. And so therefore there's no excuse for anyone. The thawab and the reward is there and it's available as an opportunity for all people, all times. MashaAllah, baraka in thawab, baraka in hasanat. In terms of the day, for those that go out to work, for those that do go out to study, to do that. But before you leave your home and after taking your rest in the morning, before you leave your home, to recite upon the exiting of your home, Bismillah, amantu billah, tawakkaltu ala Allah, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. And a person who makes that dua, then when shaitan comes, he will not be able to affect you whatsoever, because the angels will say to you, Hudita wa wuqita wa kufita, meaning may Allah give you hidayah during your day that you're outside of your home. May Allah give you kifayah during your day you're outside your home. And may Allah give you wiqayah during your day outside your home, meaning you'll be protected from harm, from evil, from disobedience. You'll be given your rizq and your sustenance, and you'll be given hidayah. Allah will guide you to the right choice and to the right place and to the right people and to the barakah people, the barakah time during your day. During your day, don't think, just because now I'm not in, it's not a time for prayer, I can't be in dhikr. You can be in dhikr all the time. The dhikr can be on the tongue and it can be on the heart. So when you're commuting, if you're going by train or going by bus or going by car, be in dhikrullah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved during the month of Ramadan to continuously recite the shahadatain, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, and also istighfar, astaghfirullah. And he used to ask Allah, as'aluka al-jannah wa na'udhu bika min an-nar. Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'afu anna. Sayyidah Aisha asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Laylatul Qadr, what should I say? He says, say this dua. So let us say this dua, hoping that any one of these nights is Laylatul Qadr, even though the most likely the last 10 and the odd, but to continue to increase in these dua and these adhkar during our day. If we do that, then by the time we come home, mashallah, we've filled our day with dhikr and with dua, and when we come back and we're ready for our iftar, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, the sa'im, a mu'min lil mu'mini farhatan, a believer has 2 moments of joy. One when breaking his fast, and the second when he meets Allah. So realize it's a moment of joy. When you realize, subhanAllah, you put that date in your mouth, you're hearing the adhan, you're reciting the dhikr, the dua upon breaking your fast. SubhanAllah, this is a moment of joy. So Allah will put barakah now in the food that is before you. And then perform your Salatul Maghrib in Jama'ah at home. Obviously, no one's going out to the masajid in these situations. And bring yourself such that you are now ready for Salatul Taraweeh afterwards. In the Shafi'i madhab, it's actually sunnah to make ghusl every single night. It's sunnah to take a bath or shower in the madhab of Imam Shafi'i every night. And the reason being, because you are preparing yourself, and this is in the case that the person is going out to Taraweeh, you're preparing yourself for a ibadah in jama'ah. And so you present yourself beautifully every single night. Not only is it about presenting yourself beautifully, but with the ightisal, although it's an outward washing of the body, it has an inward effect on the ruh. And you try this anytime, subhanAllah, anyone that's watching, anytime you're feeling tired, lazy, get in the shower, have a bath, what happens? You get all this, mashallah, energy. This is it. But you can do this with intention of ibadah and be rewarded at the same time. And then when you stand after Salatul Isha, you stand for your Taraweeh, whether you're doing 8 or 20. This is not the debate. Some people, 8, no, 20. Just pray Taraweeh. You pray 8, you pray 10, you pray 20, just pray Taraweeh. We've got an ummah now. Most of the people, ummah in ghafla. Most people not even praying. Why? Some people say, yesterday he says, I only pray Taraweeh in the masjid. When I'm not in the masjid, I don't feel anything. So I don't pray the Taraweeh. What's going on?
Regarding the surah, Sheikh, is any specific surah? The rak'at is is open thing, 2 rak'at, 8 rak'at, 20 rak'at, whatever rak'at that the person, inshallah, Allah subhanahu give him the barakah or the ability to do, and it should be fine. But and what about the surah? Is there any specific surah we should recite during the Taraweeh or anything from our memorization?
When I was in Tarim there, a lot of the masajid, to make it easy on the people, what they would do, they would recite from Surah Al-Duha to Surah Al-Nas, and they would just miss out on two surah, Surah Iqra and Surah Al-Bayyinah. Given that Surah Iqra had a sajdat tilawa and Surah Al-Bayyinah was a little longer compared to all the others. And when you do it that way, subhanAllah, it's actually exactly 20 surah. So one surah per rak'ah. And you do that, you no longer get in the problem of, oh, which rak'ah am I in? Have I done 2, 3, 4, 6, 8? From Surah Al-Duha to Surah Al-Nas, minus those two surah that I mentioned, you've got your 20. And most people memorize those surah because they're short surah. So it's easy. So if you haven't memorized Quran and you don't want to hold a mushaf, because if you're on Madhab Abu Hanifa, for instance, you can't hold the mushaf in the nafil. In the Madhab Imam al-Shafi, there's a rukhsa license to hold the mushaf whilst reciting the Quran in a salah that's nafil. So that's possible. You can take that, no problem. But if you don't want to, just recite from memory, khalas. From duha to nas, mashallah, take you 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and you've done your tarawih at home.
Yeah. Jazakallah khair. This was a question from the person, alhamdulillah, have answered. Any message you would like to send, Sheikh, before we end our talk today?
Other than those messages, inshallah, barakah, inshallah, barakah in the time, barakah in our food, barakah in our ibadah, barakah in every single thing that Allah Ta'ala gives us of rizq, zahiran wa batinan.
Ameen, ameen, ya Rabbi. We can't thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's so beneficial talk, and Allah, I would love to continue. But it's our time for today, bi'idhnillah, and would love you to have you more and more through our channel, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair, and may Allah give you barakah in your time, inshallah.
Ameen, inshallah. You too, Sheikh Hamza, and the entire Jama'ah and your family, inshallah.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, inshallah, and we'll be in touch, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.